Hello, small groups. This is for the week of February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day and happy Valentine's Day week. We are finishing our sermon series on binge reading the Bible. We are looking this week at the apocalyptic literature. And so this week's scripture is Daniel chapter 2, verses 16 through 23. So I invite you to reread those verses. Just a reminder of some of the context is that Daniel and his friends, he is considered wise and righteous. They are being persecuted by the Greek authorities. And we see this with King Nebuchadnezzar. He has actually declared a war and is out to kill all of the wise men of the area. So that he had a dream, no one was able to interpret it. And so, since no one could interpret it, he decides that all of them need to be killed, that they're not good enough. And so Daniel prays to God, and God answers by giving him an interpretation for King Nebuchadnezzar's dreams. And what's beautiful in this passage is we see that Daniel first praises God before he goes to tell King Nebuchadnezzar what the dream means, which again, his life is literally at stake. He first prays and praises God for being there for him. So a reminder that these apocalyptic literature means unveiling or revelation. And so they are often full of symbols and metaphors and kind of this mystery. They can be hard for us to understand. The good news, as I shared in Matthew 25, I believe it's verse 13, Jesus makes it clear no one knows when the second coming, when I will return, when Christ will return, and this new age will come to be. The book of Revelation is full of mystery and these symbols and things that can be hard for me in particular, but others to understand. But I find peace in that Matthew passage that makes it clear that it's okay. You don't need to know because actually only God knows when this time will come. What you can do is be ready to be making sure that you're loving God with everything, making sure that you're following God's commandments and rules and statutes, and then loving. Are you loving God? Are you loving neighbor? If so, then you're ready. It doesn't matter when Christ returns because you will be ready. If not, then you should be more concerned. So I shared in the message that I love, I enjoy Garth Brooks, and one of his songs that has been out for a while is Unanswered Prayers. And so I was wondering, I want you to really spend more time this week thinking about looking back. 2020 hindsight, of course, gives us that ability to see where God has been at work, but where has God been at work in your life? And maybe it's been through unanswered prayers. And the Garth Brooks songs he talks about, I believe it's wanting this young woman in high school when they were both in high school to like him, and it didn't work out. But he can see now that it needed to not work out because instead he found his partner, his spouse. And of course that wouldn't have happened in the other way. Had his prayers been answered at 16, which some people's are, had that been answered at 16, it would not have led to the life that he had and is grateful to God for. So looking back, was there a job that you thought you really wanted? I know for me it was. When I was getting ready to graduate from seminary, I did not feel called to be a local pastor just yet. I had had conversations with my district superintendent, and he made it clear I would be in a small rural church, and that is not where I felt called. I've never lived in the country. My sister does and loves it, and that's beautiful, and I like to go visit, but it's definitely not where I feel the most called. And so I started applying for a lot of other jobs. I applied to be a youth director in South Carolina and other places. I interviewed for several of those positions, and then I also had put in an application for the young adult missionary program. And I thought that that's what I wanted, but I wasn't sure. And then once I went to the interview weekends and kind of got to think about it and pray about it a lot more, that's where God was calling me. And had I been offered a job, I was scrambling to know what I was going to do post-graduation, I might have said yes. But because I didn't get those answers right away, it allowed God to move in me and also move in the process so I could see how actually I was called to be a missionary. And though I didn't know where I was going to be, also when I got my email or letter saying that I was moving to Los Angeles, I felt like that was where I was supposed to be. It's not necessarily what I would have picked. I had my eyes set on other places. It was clear that that's where I was supposed to be. So what about in your life? Maybe it's been a job. Maybe it's been relationships. Maybe it's been something else. That's what God needed to for you to go through so you'd be ready for that next thing. So I encourage you to think about that as we think about this unveiling and the ways that God is at work in our lives all the time. As always, I am here for you, praying for you. Hope you all have an awesome week and stay warm and dry and join me in praying for sunshine.